And well, y'all better get ready for this. Y'all better get ready for this. Anyway, keep in mind we're here every Wednesday night. And this guy's been one of our regulars for the past year or so. We love this dude here. He is the world's former greatest harmonica player. Harmonica being sort of like a cross between a harmonica and a trumpet. Is that a proper description?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. And he also has something called Peace Day, which is it at UNCA again?
We don't know.
Not yet, but talk to him. Check out Peace Day. It's an awesome thing to get involved with, and there'll be a whole lot of awesome stuff in store for that this year. So without further ado, I want y'all to make some noise for Dr. Ben Mack. Give it up, y'all!
Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold to those that favor fire. But if the world should perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Two at once. Thank you. That was going to be my closing, so now I'm done. I was asked what I am going to be talking about this evening, and the theme in my mind was about partnerships, and I thought that if I began with the beginning of a Shakespeare poem of "Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love that alters when alteration finds or bends with the remover to remove," I could riff on partnership and relationships and end with that Frost poem and Fire and Ice and have it feel like a good closure. So now I'm freewheeling and I'm open to suggestions. Magic. Alchemy. I like alchemy even more than magic. On the stage, I have presented theatrics of sleight of hand, and yet alchemy, from my perspective, is of a higher order of transformation. To me, theatrical magic is about creating a state of wonder that perhaps opens up minds to have a willing suspension of disbelief, but alchemy has a functional outcome. And to me, one of the greatest examples of alchemy was presented by Buckminster Fuller, a gentle person who taught out at Black Mountain College, as many of us know, who suggested that the sustainability of humans as a species on Earth is incumbent upon us shifting our focus of technology from weaponry to livingry.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the alchemy of linguistics, I've found that if we speak livingry as opposed to weaponry, that there's less contention. If we speak about dancing or growth or shedding light on good ideas, as opposed to in marketing, for instance, we hear about targeting or we hear about psychological triggers. Who in psychology said it was a healthy idea to put a gun in my head? You know, the psychological triggers that you get something and it triggers off all these bad things. Can't we just call it troublers? Do we have to be militaristic? Buckminster Fuller had suggested a few times that his greatest gift to humanity was the word synergy, because synergy allowed for us to see how structures could change and how you could do more with less. The idea, for instance, if you had 12 shoemakers, that each one of them, it might take 3 days for them to make a new pair of shoes, but you bring the 12 shoemakers together, and each day they could make perhaps 36 shoes, making 9 times more the amount of shoes than they could have made had they been structured differently. And I thought about, if Buckminster Fuller said that synergy was his greatest contribution to the world because of the psychological benefits of seeing that something is structurally different, and what can happen when you change structures, like if you take graphite from pencils and put it into steel. Graphite, it's like way crumbly and weak, yet you put it in steel, and the molecules reconfigure, and suddenly you've got super steel, which is fantastic for building skyscrapers, but sucky if you want something that's crumbly and can act as a lubricant the way that lead sometimes can. If the psychological gifts of synergy were what he thought was his greatest gift to humanity, what might the antonym be? And I made up a word, twisp. Twisp, T-W-I-S-P. And the premise of twisp was that when you have seen that something has structurally changed, but you're applying the vocabulary of the old metaphor, twist can mean let it go. If synergy allows you to see that something has changed and something is restructured, then perhaps the opposite of twist is to let go and evaporate the old idea. Thank you. So for instance, Buckminster Fuller questioned the idea that we teach kids about seeing a sunrise, because that instills this metaphor and this notion that Earth is still and the sun rises up, and it is inappropriate for the metaphor for the way that we know our cosmography works. We know that the Earth is spinning, and it's our spinning, not the sun moving, that creates the illusion of a sunrise. And so he suggested, as opposed to sunrise, which tells the 1- and 3-year-old mind that the sun is the one that's moving, what if we use the word sunsight to allow us to know that at that moment of the Earth revolving is the moment that the sun comes into view, and as opposed to calling the sunset as if it's going down in the east, the notion that what we're seeing is the sun clips, where our shadow is eclipsing the light of the sun. And that by seeing those things differently, we get better connected with the organic process of the world. And to me, that's verbal alchemy. And that was one of the gifts that Buckminster Fuller brought to us. Thank you. You're welcome. I think I've got perhaps 4 more minutes. I'm not looking at the time. Awesome. One more idea. I loved the alchemy suggestion, and another idea that hopefully I can bring back around to Buckminster Fuller. Okay, I'll talk about Peace Day. And pardon me, Buckminster, well, give me a theme and I'll weave it into Buckminster Fuller. Pick any word and I can connect it with Buckminster Fuller. Harmony is a beautiful choice and so much easier in some ways to bring up with Nikola Tesla, because Tesla suggested that universe was the experience of frequency. Who can help me with those 3? Not coming through my lips presently. Frequency, harmony with Buckminster Fuller is my goal, so let me just jump right there. He wrote a beautiful song that was based on the song From Where the Buffalo Roam, where he said, give me a client with a great dome, and if I had this memorized, it would be perfect right now. But what I heard most from Buckminster Fuller was that at a certain point he made a choice to stop correcting people. So that, for instance, many people say, oh yeah, well, tensegrity that was created in Buckminster Fuller's lab out at Black Mountain College, Bucky didn't actually create that originally. And he never said he did. But he also didn't feel that he was obligated to create contention with those that gave him that. He made a choice to be harmonious with what people said around him and to stop correcting them. He also had realized that he found himself fighting for stages and fighting for audiences and wanted to fight less and wanted to be in greater harmony. And he came to the realization that people generally won't listen unless asked. And at that point, he changed his life for a way that became far more harmonious, that he would only go to presentations that he was invited to. He would no longer pursue speaking obligations, but only go to those places where he was invited. I appreciate your attention and focus up here. Thanks for sharing these spaces and ideas. Blessings. you.